Vice President Kashim Shettima last week inaugurated the Multi-Sectorial Committee to address Human Capital Development (HCD) in Nigeria. The HCD program was launched by the National Economic Council (NEC) in 2018 with the purpose of addressing poverty, increasing investment in Nigeria, and improving the human capital development indices of the country. Members include businessmen from the private sector like Aliko Dangote, Tony Elumelu, and Ali Pate, Minister of Health and Social Welfare, among other donors, partners, and government officials. Well, today on the program, our attention is on human capital development and expectations from the committee. And our guest is Ossai Ilome, President, Labour Business School. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much for having me.
As soon as President Tinubu was sworn in last year, the administration prioritized health, education, and human capital development. How can you assess the investment and attention in human capital development in the last 1 year?
Yeah, I think, from the report that you just gave about the Vice President launching or establishing the Committee on Human Capital Development with the likes of Tony Elumelu, Aliko Dangote, could be said to be something to cheer about. But, coming at this stage is something also that we could say is a little bit late, but like they said, is a bit better late than never. And so to that, we will say that there could be some movement in motion, but if we want to look at it critically, I should draw the attention of the government to a specific data from the World Bank, which presupposes that Nigerians that were born in the year 2020 are going to be just about 36% productive. And that does not bode well for an economy like Nigeria that is, trying to come out of the doldrums, trying to come out of, the impact of global economic headwinds. And so I will, proceed that the government moved from motion into action. There is no time, all right? There is specific no time because if you look across the country, you discover that there is increasing difficulty in accessing healthcare services, which is a function of human capital development. There is difficulty in accessing quality education, which is a function of human capital development. There is increasing difficulty as well in accessing, adult education, as it were, on the job training. These are indices that support and improved human capital development, as we have seen from other parts of the world, ranging from Singapore to Hong Kong to Japan. These are countries that have increased human capital development, which I think we should begin to look at their model and see how we can replicate them in Nigeria.
Now, members of the revamped committee must have their responsibilities, we all know. But what type of attention or areas do you think they should also look at?
Now, the first thing first is that, thankfully, the committee had the Minister of Health in that forum. And we should begin to draw the attention of government to budgetary provisions. You can't, therefore, improve human capital development in the absence of improved budgetary provisions for healthcare. I mean, for Ministry of Health, for instance, for Ministry of Education. Now, UNESCO actually recommended 15 to 20% of your annual budget for education, as it were. And the World Health Organization recommended 15% of your annual budgetary provisions for health, for the Ministry of Health, as the case may be. But what do we have currently in Nigeria? We have a situation where we have less than 7%, or at most 5% or 7%, between 5 to 7% thereabout, that is being allocated for the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education. And so this speaks to the kind of interest that currently we are having in the country. And so if they must move from motion to action like we are proceeding, the government should begin in their next budget, because of course they should be starting their new budgetary provisions for the 2025 cycle any moment from now. They should consider at least improving from the 5 to 7% budgetary provision that they have for the Minister of Health and the Minister of Education respectively to 10 to 15%. That way, we will begin to see that there are steps that are being taken to move away from where we currently are.
Okay, Nigeria has been experiencing capital flight by way of large number of highly proficient people like doctors and nurses leaving the country. What does that say about our human capital and what can be done?
Yeah, I think it tells us that, our human capital development indices, our human capital indices is quite poor. A situation where you have increased cost of living, you have increased, all the negatives, lack of power, lack of basic infrastructure. So these professionals will, by measure of their experience and expertise, will like to go over to a place where it's a bit more conducive for them to apply their trade. However, I am also of the opinion that that shouldn't be really a bad thing for us as a country, because if you look at India, India have been able to devise a means for them to be able to take advantage of their huge population and their huge population in the ICT industry to be able to export, their citizens to other parts of the world, into their various sectors, whether it is in ICT or in medical and health sector. Indians are everywhere, all over the world. If you check the top 5, top 10 companies in the US, for instance, they are being managed. Their chief executives are of Indian origin or Indian accent. And so for me, I think the government can begin to look at a way that they can harness this trend, and make it a positive instead of a negative. We can begin to create a bit more attention to expound opportunities for Nigerians to be trained. Now that we have discovered that the world is looking for our healthcare professionals, we could do more by expounding the opportunity for Nigerians to be trained in the healthcare industry. And therefore, we're able to have enough manpower to look at our internal needs and to be able to also export manpower to other parts of the world.
Okay, so what critical areas and skills do you identify as necessary to help address gaps in entrepreneurship and human capital development?
One of the things that we know that the entrepreneurship sector, the entrepreneurship ecosystem really requires, beyond the challenge of access to funding, is the lack of knowledge, requisite knowledge, as it has to do with the entrepreneur's area of business. Now, generally speaking, some people tend to think that funding is the #1 problem for entrepreneurship or for entrepreneurs. But our research and our activities engaging with entrepreneurs over years has shown that it is not just about funding, but adequate knowledge of the type of business that you are into, the model of business, how is that model structured, what are the revenue streams that are possible within the model of your operation. These are critical things that makes a business to grow. And so if the government must also come in beyond the critical need for the government to intervene in making access to funding a bit more easy, it is important that we have a structure like I was talking about on the job training. We have programs, all right, for the MSME sector to be able to improve their understanding of the business that they are running into. Financial literacy is also very, very critical, for them to be able to understand simple mechanisms like budgeting and planning and all that. So, yeah, they could do more in terms of providing access to additional training for MSMEs.
Can you tell us the place of technology in achieving human capital development and economic growth?
Of course, technology is layered in every aspect of human life as we have it today. It has disrupted every facet of life and living. And so today you have people that undertake, like we are talking about, providing access to education, access to training for entrepreneurs. These could be leveraged. I mean, this could be distributed or delivered through technology. We could have, of course, we have various organizations, various institutions today that are running capacity building programs, not physically, but through different platforms, through different websites, and all that. So yeah, technology can have a way, and of course, we also have different applications that can also support the various sector, like health and education, like we have mentioned before. There are applications that you can utilize in managing your business, application you can utilize in managing your health, application that you can utilize in managing your academics, your educational pursuits. So yes, technology is critical, and I think that beyond also consuming foreign generated technologies, imported technologies, I think the government should also do more in encouraging local content development, which will include supporting our techpreneurs to be able to also develop different apps that can be introduced. We have a situation where you have countries like China, instead of using the usual social media platforms, they have their own locally generated social media platforms. We have countries like Russia, of course, that also have locally generated platforms that they use. So I see no big deal for Nigeria to also support our techpreneurs to develop an app that can become visible across the country for the purpose of whether it is for capacity building specifically, or for social connection and all that.
What about AI? Yeah,
AI, we're in the age of the AI. AI has come to stay, and despite the fear that people have about AI is not going anywhere. In fact, AI is a $1 trillion industry as we have it today. And so businesses and individuals need to begin to identify how to incorporate AI into their business. The time for this disposition that AI is taking your job is no more, because the truth of the matter is that AI is not coming to take your job. It is the person that is using AI that is coming to take your job. And so the earlier you begin to integrate AI into what you are doing, the earlier you begin to look at acquiring the necessary skill to enable you to understand how you can utilize AI in your day-to-day activities, the better for everyone.
Thank you very much. I've been speaking with